Welcome to Big Questions in Small Spaces, where we ask big questions in small spaces. Our first victim, participant, is the tall guy, Pastor Paul. So we've collected some questions from staff, council members, and the congregation, and we're just gonna rapid fire ask these big questions and get some answers.
Awesome.
We're gonna start off strong. If Jesus is the suffering king and he can relate to all of our trials, what about losing a spouse or child? He didn't have either a child or spouse to lose, so how would he know what that feels like?
These are
Big.
These are great questions. Well, we always have to remember that Jesus is God, and so God knows all things. But I would even point to Paul's analogy of the church being the bride of Christ. And so I think Jesus hurts when he loses people who don't believe in him. So while I think that, yes, there's a unique relationship between a husband and a wife, it's very interesting that in the New Testament, Jesus is called the husband and the church is the wife. And so while it's an analogy, I do think that Jesus fully understands what it's like to lose somebody.
Absolutely.
So,
in your theological opinion, which is more spiritually damaging, the trials of Job or a dedication to the Dallas Cowboys fanhood?
first of all, to say what is my theological opinion is redundant. My opinions are just theological in general. And look, the Dallas Cowboys are God's team on the earth. So anything said poorly about them should be nixed from the annals of time.
Who's more intellectual, Ellie or Paul?
Oh gosh, she's got me beat big time. And, you know, really, truly, she does. Ellie is one of those people that can study something and then she just has it all. Like, not just the content, but understanding the arc of the author, of the writer, of whatever it is. It's unbelievable. She's made all A's.
Yeah.
Right? She's brilliant. She's brilliant.
She is.
So,
Yeah,
Ellie for sure.
Okay, here, this one's big. After her recent testimony to Congress, former Harvard president Claudine Gay stated, "I failed to convey what is my truth." This is emblematic of a postmodern society that seems to support the concept that there are multiple truths where my truth can be different from and exist alongside your truth. Are there a multiplicity of truths or is there absolute truth?
Oh, there's absolutely absolute truth. And everybody believes in absolute truth. They just don't like to admit it. What they really believe is that their truth is absolute. So what's so funny about that is that in a postmodern society, we can kid ourselves all we want that I can walk across the street in front of a bus and that somehow I'm going to be able to make it across the street.
Right.
But the reality is that the absolute truth is that the bus is going to smack you on your butt. So, yes, there is absolute truth. Now, don't use it, though, to be a jerk, right?
Right.
So this is where Jesus is so phenomenal because he lived in a postmodern society, too. I mean, we use it in different terms. His society was a pluralistic society. There were many things to believe and worship. But Jesus comes along and he says, how do we express the truth, the absolute truth, in love? Right? And that's what he does over and over and over again. He doesn't let the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who, by the way, have two opposing truths. He doesn't let them, he doesn't choose a side. He simply says, there's a whole nother way to this, and you're missing the point.
Tell us about times you've experienced the overwhelming, unconditional love from our Savior.
Well, I think, honestly, a lot of those times being a dad comes with just spending it with my boys. And spend it with family. I'm amazed to see the growth of my sons, and even just the other day, I got a little snuggle time with Toby, right? And there's just a peace that's in those moments, and I thank God for them. I think the other part is just being in ministry and getting to see what we're doing as a church. As lead pastor here, I get to see some of the things that go on behind the scenes and to see how lives are changed, and that's powerful as well. So you get to see the love of God that way. Yeah.
Following up from how you see the church and what you see in the background, is this where you envisioned where we would be 5 years ago when you started?
Absolutely not. I mean, I started before the pandemic. I still remember my presentation to the call committee and, you know, the things that I had said, these would be great things to be doing as a church in the future. And then 4 months into being here, the world went upside down, inside out. And so absolutely not. You know, when I met with the call team, never was changing the name. You know, one of those first things. Multi-site wasn't necessarily something that, you know, we talk about, and certainly not taking all the technological steps we've taken.
Absolutely.
I just didn't, I said we needed to do it. I told the call committee, I said, we need to upgrade some of our tech stuff, but I never knew it'd be because we had to reach people online as quickly as we had to. So I think I had no idea where we would be at where we're at right now, but I think where we're at right now is better than what I ever anticipated.
And from that, where do you want to see Faith Life 5 years from now?
I want to see us continue to grow. I mean, that's...
Yep.
The pandemic shook the church to its very core. A lot of churches, you know, have recovered from that, but we're still in this era of, okay, where have all the people gone, right? And I can say that we're not in that era here at Faith Life, right? We've seen people return, but we've also seen just a bunch of new people, and I want to see that continue to happen. I want to get back onto that mission focus, and our multi-site's part of that. Getting out of debt is going to help us tremendously with doing amazing mission work, and so, I mean, in 5 years from now, I'd love to see just one number. I mean, there are a couple numbers I'd love to see, but I'd love to see 1,000 or more people worshiping.
Ooh, yeah.
At Faith Life, right?
I think each Sunday.
Each Sunday.
Yeah.
I think God can do that. I think we've got some awesome things to offer here at Faith Life.
Agreed.
So,
I don't know if everyone knows this. Can you tell everyone about your doctoral dissertation?
oh, how much time do you have? It's okay.
Our next meeting is in.
I'm working on measuring change readiness in congregations. So there's a lot of research that's been conducted on change management and how lead change and things like this. A lot of that's focused on the pastor. I want to focus on the congregation. Are the people ready to change? I've seen a lot of change in ministry. And I've been at congregations where I think people have been pretty ready to accept change. I think, I don't know why that is, but God has just put me in those places. And so I'm just wondering if that's true for other congregations. Because I see a lot of congregations that are stuck.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of sacred cows. And people say, hey, we're ready to change, but are you really ready to change? And so it just would be something that I hope the church can use in the future, like the larger church, to maybe create an assessment of some kind, or even consultants can come along with other churches and give the assessment, and then they can talk about, okay, what does it really mean to be ready to change?
Nice.
And maybe help some congregations with preparing for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what is that timeline, kind of your expected?
Yeah, so January 15th, it all has to be in.
Of 2025?
Of 2025. Yeah, so then I defend in February or March, and then I graduate in May.
Well, that's great. And then we can call him the tall Reverend Dr. Pastor Paul.
That's right. Or just Pastor Paul.
Just Pastor Paul. Well, thank you for our first rendition of Big Questions in Small Spaces.
You're welcome. If I stand up right now, I'm going to hit my head.
Let's see it.
Let's not.
Thanks, everyone.